Bling! Sega! Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie, and we talk about it right after the movie from the parking lot in Matt's car. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And on this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, we will be sharing our reactions, as you may have guessed from Todd's bling, of Sonic the Hedgehog. This movie is a movie targeted at kids, so not really our target audience, as we are not kids. But the movie follows the character Sonic the Hedgehog as he races around Earth, and the idea is that he's supposed to keep his presence secret and not be detected, and if he is detected, he has to leave and go to another world via the use of his power rings. And so inevitably he is detected by the U.S. government, and they send in someone named Dr. Robotnik, yes, and played by Jim Carrey, who comes in playing a deliciously evil supervillain who chases Sonic around. And so twists and turns, and there's a general theme of friendship going on. Sonic meets up with the sheriff of a small town where he's been kind of living in around, and they end up having a little bit of an adventure to escape Dr. Robotnik and go to San Francisco and recover some important things for Sonic. So, there it is.
Well done.
What did you think?
Well, Matt, if you will indulge me for just a hot second here, I'd like to get back up on my soapbox about being respectful in movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the battle was against us today because we were seeing a kids movie.
On an afternoon
where there definitely were kids going to be there. But there was definitely one family where both kids were very loud and would ask questions all through. Like, they just never stopped talking. And whatever, they're kids. They get a pass. Who doesn't get a pass is the adult with them, who at no point was like, oh, guys, keep it quiet. Or, can you can ask those questions, but keep it low. I mean, they were like full-blown, almost yelling the questions. And that was frustrating for me. I've taken my 4-year-old daughter to several movies at this point, and she understands that the movie theater is supposed to be quiet if she has a question or if she goes too loud. I'm like, remember, we're in a theater. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, there's just something you can do. This parent did nothing, and that's frustrating.
I wouldn't say the parent did nothing. What she did do, which was even more annoying, is she answered the questions.
She did audibly answer every question.
In full volume. Not a theater whisper, but she was yelling out at the same volume they were asking the questions, the answers to the questions.
Yes. So, if you're at a movie theater, or if you're bringing your offspring to a theater, let's all observe theater etiquette and just try a little bit. I'm not asking for miracles. I'm just asking for a little effort. All right, I'm climbing down off my soapbox.
All right, fair enough.
So, this movie, I am having a hard time deciding where I will finally land on it. What it's got going against it so far for me is that it is so very much aimed at kids that it lost me some, just because, it had a target audience, it went for it, and I guess that was one way you could have done it, but kids nowadays they don't really know Sonic. It's not like Sonic's really out there, except for maybe in Mario games at this point, Sonic pops up. So the people who know Sonic are the people who are my age, your age, people who were there for the Sega craze and stuff, and I don't know. I feel like that was a misstep. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to make a ton of money and kids love it, and here come the sequels and stuff like that. I don't know. But that was a strike against it in my mind. The other big strike against it to me is that the whole plot of this movie I was not a fan of. Just in this kind of for a movie that was going to be about a video character game, specifically Sonic, it kind of fell into the stereotypical superhero movie that we get all the time now of I've got these powers, I'm hiding them or whatever. Through whatever adventure, I got to really come into my powers. Now I'm using my powers for good. It's just like so been there, done that. We're never really, except for the first 5 minutes on Sonic's World, where, you know, everything happened in the games and stuff like that. Like I don't see why it had to be on Earth and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe that's for future movies, but I kind of feel like there was some missed opportunity here. That being said, it definitely hits all the marks for probably an enjoyable kids movie. It is kind of like heavy on the action for a kids movie in the sense of like, you know, Dr. Robotnik's drones are firing real missiles and real bullets and stuff like that. And it was like I was like, we're so far in kidland, and then here comes this like these murder bots. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I mean, Jim Carrey is like really hamming it up in this movie, like, which is enjoyable at times. And then other times to me, I was like, wow, like you're really swinging for the fences. James Marsden is just James Marsden, the sheriff guy. And, Sonic's voice was fine. The guy who I can't remember his name, but he is the guy in Parks and Rec. The John Ralphio in Parks and Rec is where I know him. So if you've got a young kid and they are like really into movies and going to the movies is a special thing that you do with them, then sure, go see this movie. Like I'm sure kids super enjoyed it. The kids in the theater with us seemed to enjoy it. Like at no point besides all their questions where they just like, did they say that they hated it or anything like that? So they seem to be walking out of the theater pretty happy. So if you got kids, go see it. If you don't have kids and you want to go see it for nostalgia's sake and like be like, yeah, I used to play Sonic, maybe I'll go see that movie. I don't know if it's gonna like really hit home with that. So for just a very niche nostalgia thing, they didn't really lean into a Sonic story to me, or like, I don't know, maybe I'm forgetting what the game was like. But so anyway, I went really long this time. So that's where I'm landing.
Okay.
See it if you got kids. If you don't have kids, then maybe you miss it.
Yeah. I agree with your two kind of down points about the movie. I think there was some unevenness in who they were targeting. Like, I could see it being targeted at like 10-year-olds.
Yeah. 10,
11, 12 maybe, because you got some pretty big violence. There's a bar brawl in it.
Yeah, the whole bar scene is just weird to me. It was very misplaced.
so that's like, and there's some things that, you know, the kids were asking questions about that were like, you know, we have the concept of a tranquilizer gun. Like, what is that, and how is that coming into play? I don't know. There's some unevenness in kind of the target age group and what actually happens on the screen. I also think we have a kids movie here, and so the overall theme is going to be limited to sort of kids themes. And I think the overall theme is really, you know, friendship.
Sure.
And can Sonic make a friend when he's never had a real friend or whatever. So there's only so complex that you can make a theme like that. You're not going to get, like, you know, a great plot or a great story when that's sort of what you're limited to. You're going to get something that's for kids because it is. And I thought in general for a kids movie, it was okay. I would say it was above average even for a kids movie. There's only so high I can go when it's something that's directly targeted at kids. But I'd say I enjoyed it. I didn't find myself counting the minutes till it was over or regretting seeing it afterwards. So that's kind of where I end up.
All right. How many Robotnik mustaches would you give this movie?
Well, on a scale of 0 to 5 Robotnik mustaches, I'm going to go a little bit above average. I'm going to go with a 2.8 Robotnik mustaches. Like I said, yes, it's a kid's movie, and so there's only so high I'm probably gonna go unless they really did some extraordinary stuff with story and plot and sort of laying things out there for adults as well as children. But I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay, and I think if you have kids, they might like it.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
That's a hard one. I think I'm gonna land at like a 2.5. I'm just gonna give it straight down the middle here. I'm trying to not be so harsh on it because it was very much directed at kids. So it's like, but then I feel like the best kids movies nowadays are movies that you go into and they, kind of surprise you with how good they are, even though it's designated for kids. And this did not do that at all. So
yeah,
there were parts where I was like, it was enjoyable to see Jim Carrey kind of be the Jim Carrey that made him famous. Like,
yeah,
that tugged on some nostalgia and older times. So I think that was nice to see. So good things to say, bad things to say. I'm just going to land in the safe middle. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go 2.5.
All right.
So,
well, that's going to do it for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we reviewed Sonic the Hedgehog, and we gave it 2.65 on average Dr. Robotnik mustaches out of 5. So not terrible, not great. Definitely a kid's movie. Go see it if you want. And thanks for listening to our podcast. We like it when we have listeners.
We like it when you listen.
We like it when you listen.
Oh boy. Da 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 da. Da 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 da.